Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conscious Conversations. I'm your host, Katie Augustyn. So, I'm a transformation coach, I'm an energy healer, I'm a shamanic practitioner, and I'm the founder of the Transformation Center based in Westport, Connecticut. So, at the center, in addition to the individual coaching and healing sessions that I do, we also offer a variety of classes, workshops, all sorts of interesting things. I just love bringing practitioners so you can meet them and share what they have to offer. So that's really one of my missions. We also have a labyrinth in the backyard, which is really cool. And we offer outdoor activities such as sound baths, kirtan, things like that. Yeah, so I'm going to put up the contact information for the Transformation Center. And let's see, here we go. Yeah, transformationcenterct.com. So all of the information about the events are on there. You can check it out. And everything we do is really focused on helping you experience like more self-awareness. So then you can just, transform your limiting beliefs and consciously create the life that you love. So that's what that's all about. All right. So I am very excited tonight for Conscious Conversations for y'all to meet my guest, Megan Mary. Welcome to the show, Megan.
Thanks, Katie. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, well, so I have not actually met Megan in person yet, but we've connected online, and it's just so cool that we can just talk to people all over the country. Megan lives in Idaho. Yeah, so I'm going to read just a little bit about you, Megan, before we get started, so our guests can, our viewers can hear this. Okay, so Megan Mary is a dream worker who specializes in the analysis of women's dreams to promote transformative personal growth and enlightenment. As the founder of Women's Dream Analysis and the Women's Dream Enlightenment podcast, Megan is an intuitive. She's an introvert, a mystic, and a writer. Okay, she's also, well, she's going to tell us about this in a few minutes. We're going to get into it. But what I've learned is after being diagnosed with 3 chronic illnesses, she experienced a spiritual awakening. And that's often how it happens in our lives. And Megan now works with women all over the world, offering dream interpretation, transformative journeys, and enlightened guidance. And as I said, she lives in Idaho with her rock star drummer husband and 2 cats. All right. Well, again, welcome to the show, Megan. And
Thank you.
And the first thing I really like to hear from my guest about is like your personal journey that I alluded to a minute ago. Like, how did you get into this work in the first place?
Yes. So when I was younger, I was always really fascinated with the unseen worlds and knew that I had an innate sense that there was so much more than meets the eye and what I was being told. And I was really, really curious and always seeking knowledge even then. And part of the reason that I really loved Halloween so much when I was a child was because that was the one day when everyone would acknowledge the fact that there were spirits among us. And that's really what I wanted to live in all year round because I loved that magical feeling. And so I used to have dreams as a child, both recurring flying dreams that were fabulous, as well as recurring nightmares. And I really wanted to understand what they meant. And I used to read it in books and dream dictionaries and things like that, but it never really resonated with me. And it wasn't until recently that I became very ill and was diagnosed with several chronic illnesses all in a row, and really had to do some deep introspection about what I was doing with my life and where my passion really lied. And as part of my healing journey, I started meditating every day. And I'd done it before in the past, but just not that regularly. And it really opened up a whole new, I'd say new world to me, but it was more a remembering. And there's a quote that was in your newsletter that really resonated with me. And it was that she knew this transition was not about becoming someone better, but about finally allowing herself to become who she'd always been. that's my story. So when I had that awakening or remembering, I was called literally to do this work. And initially, I was very resistant, of course. But once I aligned myself and stepped into that, the world opened up for me, and all the women from everywhere gathered around me virtually and said, "We love what you're doing. You're making a huge difference." And so that's how my path started.
Wow, that's amazing. And I think that's very, indicative of how it works, that once we're open to our path or what, we've come here to do, that things do come to us and things do fall into place. And it just feels right. Was that your experience?
Yes, very much
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And so how did that transition then to the dream work part? Because it sounds like you do a lot of different things, but you focus on the dream work. Is that accurate?
I provide spiritual guidance because when I help people decode their dream language, it really helps them connect with their subconscious, which is really helping them connect with the greater universe and their higher self. And so it helps them on their path. And I call it the ultimate in self care because it really is making that connection versus looking outside for answers. And so many times, as a result of what we discover, I then provide spiritual guidance around that. And I started looking back and keeping my dream journal more regularly. And as a result of the meditations that I was doing and all of the different modalities that I was experiencing, I really started having that awakening and that calling experience that really was very prophetic in my dreams. It was very much being playing out in my dreams as I was actuating it in real life.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, it is and it isn't, because it's like it sounds amazing, but I guess that's pretty much how it works. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
synergistic. Yes.
Yeah. So it sounds like maybe you use the dream work modality to, it's almost as though it's one tool to allow
Yes.
people to expand like you were describing. So it's not an end in itself. It's really a way to get to who you really are.
Exactly. And I just, it's it's my energy medicine, let's say, but I encourage all spiritual practitioners to incorporate dream work into the work that they do because I feel so strongly about it being a doorway and about it being a very powerful transformational tool that complements all the other work that so many healers and guides are doing.
I love that. I knew there was a reason that we were meeting right now, because it sounds like something that would be helpful for me to hear, to work with people, my clients and people,
Awesome.
and myself for that matter. So,
Great.
yeah, yeah. So what, like you said, like dream analysis is
Mhm.
really what it's called. What can you describe? Like how does it work?
Mhm. I call it dream analysis because there's a lot of baggage with the word dream interpretation. And even though that's common, the phrase that's most commonly known, there's also a lot of negativity around the fact that I might be interpreting it for you, telling you what it means. And what I really am doing is helping you discover what it means for you. So after really researching and studying and reflecting on all the different approaches for so long, I devised my own method that I call the dream mirror method. And in 4 steps, I feel like that really takes you right to the spot where you can unravel the puzzle and the trick that your subconscious is playing on you with your dreams and actually be able to decode it and use it for your own self-discovery.
Hmm, okay. So you're just facilitating someone tuning into their own um, visions or whatever it is that they're receiving through their dreams.
Exactly. So it really is putting the power back on the dreamer
Mhm.
rather than me putting a meaning on their dream. And that way they have a lot of agency, they're very involved, and they're able to really target and understand and integrate their own very personal meaning, because the dream is coming from them. So the meaning has to as well.
Right, right. So, in my experience, the most difficult part of dream work, so to speak, is remembering your dreams. So,
Yes.
do you have a process for that? What are the steps that you mentioned?
Yes. So, well, there's four steps in the dream mirror method. And the first step is memory. And that's really, remembering your dream. And for some people, that's not as easy as I thought, since I remember mine quite often. So in that step, I ask you to keep a dream journal, and and it could be just a journal that you're already keeping, but starting to keep a dream journal with the intention that you're going to remember your dreams. And I one of the tips that I usually recommend people do is, when you first wake up in the morning, try to lie still for a few minutes and not just jump out of bed, not start on the hamster wheel of what you have to do that day, or grab your phone, and think backwards. And I have to come up with a better name for this, but it's basically like when you walk into a room and you say, why did I come in here? What was I just going to do? And you think backwards, you trace your thoughts, you trace your steps in your head, so that you can get back to the point where you remember what you were going to do. And that's really how you can, think, remember the last thing that happened in your dream. So if you can, and you have to concentrate, it takes dedication and practice. But when you're able to concentrate and think backwards, and you go, oh, that's right, I was just in the field, or I was just riding my bike, or oh yeah, I just saw that person, and you get a little hit. As soon as you get that little teeny hint, write that down, and you can write it down at the end of the piece of paper, because then you're going to go, oh, that's right, before that this happened, and then before that this happened, and you'll start to remember it backwards. So if you write it up the page, then by the time you're done, you'll have a linear explanation of what happened. And I also encourage people to give their dreams a title. So consider it as a story. And if you were going to name it a short story with a short phrase, what would it be? So that's really the first step.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. I love that backward memory thing. Definitely gonna try that. And it feels like, isn't it, that we're sort of in a semi-dream state when we wake up, and so we're trying
Yes.
to tap back into that. Is that
Yeah.
true?
So right now we're in beta, which is our normal brainwave state. And when we meditate or when we dream, we're in theta. And so that's why they're so similar in terms of the brain activity and the brain state. And when we wake up, we're really 1 foot in beta, 1 foot in theta, and we're just straddling those worlds. And so that's why we can pull things from there, because
Mhm.
after 5 minutes, we're in beta and it's gone. So you won't remember. Yeah.
Yes. I think for me, it's even faster, because the second the real world, so to speak, intrudes, like, oh, what day is it? Or what do I have to do this morning, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, then it's
Yeah.
much more difficult to go back into the other world.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not unlike if you woke up in the middle of the night and then you try to go back to sleep. It's that same feeling in your body and in your mind where you say, okay, I'm just going to rest here for a minute. And you kind of try to convince yourself to be sucked back in. That's when you can almost, because sometimes you can go right back into that dream you were in. So you're able to kind of get closer to that world.
Yes, yes, yes. It's like sometimes if I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm in the middle of a really good dream, and I'm like, okay, I want to go back to that dream.
Which you can do. Yes.
Sometimes it works. Why
Yeah.
is that?
Well,
That
it's
we're,
intention. It's really
yeah.
intention. And that's also how lucid dreaming works. So it really has to do with creating an intention that you are going to become aware, or that you are going to manifest a certain dream.
Okay, so that's kind of a little bit different topic. I do want to pursue that. I do, because I think that's
Yes.
really fascinating. I love that. Um, but we were talking about the memory, the recall. So you
Yes.
definitely recommend writing it down, even if you start from the bottom and go up. And then
Yes.
what?
The second step is mood. And that's where I ask you to write down in the journal the mood that you were in when you went to sleep, the mood that you experienced in your dream. And it could be more than one if the scenes change, and then the mood that you woke up in. Because the mood is really indicative of the message and the meaning behind the dream. And that's why nightmares are so powerful. That's why dreams feel so real, because our brain is actually experiencing them and processing them in the same way emotionally as waking events.
Wow. Okay. So it's by mood, you mean whatever emotional state you're in.
Yes.
So to keep it
Yes.
simple, whether you're
I had a great
like
day.
angry,
I'm
anxious.
feeling,
Okay.
yeah, I'm feeling very optimistic, or I'm so frustrated today, what have you. So that you can see the progression from where you went to sleep, and then what happened in your dream, and then how you felt.
Okay. That
The
makes
third
sense.
step is mirror, and that's really where it's the opposite of a dream dictionary. It's where I act as a mirror to you, and through a series of questions about all the little details in your dream, I draw out the meaning from you and your subconscious. So we look at the people, the places, the situations, the actions, the colors, numbers, music, weather, elements, all of those things. And the last step is metaphor. And that's where we put together all of the things that you've detailed, and your mood, and your title of the dream. And we look at the whole story of your dream as a metaphor for your waking life.
Okay. So it's like you take everything and then come out with something that can be meaningful, basically.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. Okay. Well, I definitely want to try this.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And then that helps people like understand what's going on really in their life, or how
Yes.
would you characterize it?
So many things, so many things. So it really helps you connect with your subconscious, and our waking mind is only 5% conscious and 95% subconscious. So there's a whole rest of the iceberg that we're not aware of, that is influencing our lives, our behavior, our emotions, our patterns, our everything, right? And so when we can access that through the messages in our dreams and figure out what our dream language actually is, which is different for everybody, then we're able to actually hear the messages in our dreams and then integrate that into our waking life. So it leads us to a more holistic existence by combining our subconscious with our conscious, integrating our shadow with our light. And it allows us to not only understand ourselves better, but it also, we can access everything we've ever experienced in that subconscious. So it can be a great tool for creativity. It can be a great source of confidence and clarity. It can be a great mentor, really, of your own, because it is you.
It's yes, it is. I mean, I think that we are through our dreams. My understanding is, yeah, we get messages from our higher self, from the spirit world if we ask for it, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is that part of lucid dreaming when you request information? How
It's
does that
dream
work?
manifestation or dream incubation. And it doesn't have to be lucid for it to be that. You can write down in your dream journal before you go to bed a question that you have, or something that you're working on, or something that you are. So I'm a writer, and I might wonder, well, what happens in this next chapter? Or I need another character, or what am I going to do in this plot point? Or you might have a project at work, or you might be trying to redesign your living room. It doesn't matter what it is. If you're looking for a creative solution, then you reflect on that before you go to bed, write it down, and think about it as you're falling asleep. And your brain's going to continue to work on it. And it will eventually present solutions to you. Now, you might think, well, that has nothing to do with what I asked, but that's where the dream language comes in. And you have to decode that to figure out what the message is.
Ah, okay. Wow. That sounds like it could be really, really helpful for a lot of
Yes.
people.
Oh, it's transformational. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, because I have heard that if you really want a creative solution to something that you've been working on, that's really the way to go. That's one of the ways to go is to.
Yes, and so many famous inventors, musicians, artists, writers. I mean, Albert Einstein, Mary Shelley, the list goes on. It's so many things have are invented, derived from, inspired by dreams.
Mhm. Because it's like you were saying, it's a way to tap into our unconscious that is so vast.
Yes,
And that also my understanding is that everything that has ever happened or anything that we've ever thought is stored in our unconscious mind, right?
yes,
Okay, so
yes,
it's all there. We're just not aware of it. It's like,
exactly.
that saying, we don't know what we don't know. Well, we do know it. It's just
We
it's just
do. Hmm.
we have to access it.
Yes.
So this is like a well, I don't guess. Yeah, I guess it is simple. It's a simple way to access. It's not maybe so easy, but it is simple the way you outline it.
Right. Yeah. And it's meant to be that way so that it's accessible, so that people can say, oh, okay, 4 steps, I could do that, and it gets people to not feel like it's this insurmountable thing. And so that way it gives you a framework, and you can start to pay attention to those things when you're writing down in your journal. And the more you remember, the more you remember. So the more detail you get, the more you're going to have to work with.
Okay, so like when you work with clients and you give them this framework with which to work, and they work with you, and then are they able to continue the work on their own afterwards, for years, however long they want to?
Ideally, that is the goal, because I want to help women all over the world, right? And I only have so many hours in the day. So that is the goal, is to really empower women with this method, and to really say, look, you have, I'm giving you this toolbox so that you can take it on your path of growth, and learn how to use, because you're going to have dreams every single night. And I want you to be able to harness that. And so when I have a session with other women, many times that in the session or over the course of the next week, I'll ask them to reflect on what we've uncovered. And there's always work to do. So I do series of sessions that I call journeys, where I integrate other modalities to help them incorporate what they've learned. So I incorporate affirmations and sound frequency and journal prompts and whatever other modalities I like that resonate with me, and offer them as part of their curated journey based on whatever it is that's coming up in the dream, and whatever I feel that they need to reflect on. And so curated meditations and so on, that really help them continue on that journey. And then they continue to journal, and they continue to learn the method to reflect.
That's great. I mean, that's perfect. So you're tailoring it to what they need, and you're not just leaving them at that stage. That you're
Right.
having them learn more so they can take it further. And yeah,
Yes.
that's awesome. It's working sort of like a coach does. It sounds like
Very
to
much.
me.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So what if people, well, I guess does anybody come to you that can't remember their dreams at all? I guess not, or they wouldn't come to you,
Well,
right?
I have those conversations all the time. Yes. So whenever I bring it up, half the time people say, oh, I have a dream I want to tell you. And the other half of the time they say, but I don't remember my dreams. So there's reasons that, especially as women, that you may feel that you don't. And one of them is estrogen. So when our estrogen is high, our dream recall is high. And when it's low, it's going to be lower. And so I encourage women to integrate integrate the moon cycles with their journaling so that they can pay attention to when the moon is changing and when they're changing, and really understand that that can influence that and not feel discouraged by the fact that they might not be remembering them. Of course, there's a lot of other extraneous things that can influence it as well: sleep quality, medications. There's so much. And then you can also turn off your dream recall on the subconscious level. So you said, I just don't remember, and I don't know why, but subconsciously it's because you turned it off, because you don't want to listen to that message, and there's something there that you're blocking.
Oh, how interesting. Yes, because I have talked to people that say, I don't think I dream. I'm like, well, I'm
Yes,
pretty sure you do.
everyone does. Yes.
That's thank you for that confirmation, because
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that everybody does. Yeah. So you're working with women. Is there a reason why you
Mhm.
just focus on women?
Because of the way that I came to it with my journey, I really wanted to support other women that were going through difficult things, that were seeking answers, that wanted to feel comfortable in discussing their dreams, because dreams are an intimate topic. There can be very personal, and sometimes you don't have anyone to share it with, and you might feel embarrassed or ashamed about it or confused or think it's weird, and so you push it down and you ignore it and you don't understand it. And I really want to, it's an invitation for dream appreciation and for dream sharing, and to also understand that dreams can very much be your guidance and part of your growth. And so that was really part of it. And also, it's beneficial to me that women actually record their dreams in more detail. So that actually allows for the work much easier.
Okay, because they're a little bit closer to that process, probably.
Yes.
Yeah, I think women in general are more interested in self-awareness. Now, that's just a broad generalization, but that's my experience of it. Not to say that men aren't, but it sounds like we're a little bit different in that regard. Yeah, and you mentioned like dreams that they wouldn't want to remember, or something like what we call nightmares. Is
Mhm.
that like what causes that, other than being angry when you go to sleep?
Well, it's a lot of things, and when you have a nightmare, it's because the reason it's so disturbing is because emotions are so strong, and the reason the emotions are so strong is because the message is very powerful. Just like with recurring dreams, if a dream keeps coming back, it's because you're not hearing the message, and so there is a message there, and there is a healing opportunity there. So it's really just delving into that shadow and breaking it apart, and really incorporating that then, so that you have a conscious awareness of it, to understand what the message is and then what your next steps can be.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Just break it down as though it were just a normal everyday dream. Because I don't have nightmares, but I have had them, and it can be very frightening.
Yes.
You wake up like with your heart pounding and not knowing what to do, and it seems so
Yeah.
real, in the
Yes.
moment, right? Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. That's interesting. So you work mainly remotely, Megan?
Yes. Hmm. Yes. And that way
Okay.
I can really reach everybody all over the world. So that's really
Yeah.
the wonderfulness of technology at that point.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap up in a minute, but I did want to show, your contact info is right there on the screen. Everybody can see your website, but I'll just put up the little slide that has, there we go. So that's your URL, and everything is right there on her website, womensdreamanalysis.com. You can contact her through her website, set up sessions, whatever you need. It's right there, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So before we end, is there any last thing you would like to share that we haven't covered?
I would just encourage everyone to listen to their dreams. It's an unopened letter if you don't, and it's a great opportunity and invitation to really integrate and find your higher guidance.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. I really, really enjoyed meeting you.
Thank you,
And we'll
Katie.
be in
Thank you so
touch. I want to
much.
set up a session.
Excellent.
All right. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.